everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today we're going to be talking about 2018's Hereditary and its 4K Blu-ray that came out from Lionsgate. So I figured I had a free day today. All my pre-orders for 4Ks this week all haven't showed up yet, so I was wondering, what can I review on the channel that I haven't yet? And one of my favorite films to come out in the last 10 years was 2018's Hereditary, Ari Aster's directorial debut film that came out from A24. And until last year's Everything Everywhere All at Once, Hereditary was actually A24's highest grossing film with $82 million at the box office against the $10 million budget. So this one was a pretty big hit at the time, and it really should have won Toni Collette an Oscar, or at least got her nominated. It is pretty offensive that she didn't get nominated for an Academy Award that year. She easily gave the best performance of 2018, just running the gamut of emotions in this film.
If it could have maybe brought us together or something. If you could have just said, I'm sorry, or faced up to what happened.
Because this film is really dealing with grief. At its heart, it's about a grieving family. At the very beginning of this movie, the family has just lost their very secretive grandmother, and many people don't know about her, just that she was a very cold-hearted woman who really didn't show much love to her daughter, Toni Collette, but did seem to have a little bit obsession with Toni Collette's daughter, Charlie, played in this film by Millie Shapiro, in a great performance. And when I first saw the trailer for this movie, and I feel like a lot of people did, we thought we were going to get like a ghost story involving a child. And this is going to be spoilers for this review, at least for the film part of the review. So if you want to head over to the 4K review, you can do that if you want to avoid complete spoilers about this film, because like I said, I thought that this movie was going to be something about a haunted child. I don't really like to pay too much attention to trailers. I like to go into movies as blind as possible, and thank God I did, because this movie has one scene in it that just shocked the hell out of me in theaters. I'm telling you, my jaw hit the ground. My entire theater that I was in just went absolutely silent. And I'm talking about the scene where early in the movie, we think that this movie is about a haunted child. And eventually, you know, like this child is starting to seem very weird. We see her cut off the head of a bird. You know, she's always going... that clicking noise that she's always making. You know, we think that this is going to be a child that ends up getting possessed. That's the way the film is starting to set up. But Alex Wolff's character, her brother, you know, he's forced to take her to a party, and she has a very bad nut allergy. And unfortunately, she eats some cake with some nuts, and he's got to take her to the hospital. And they're on their way. She sticks her head out the window to get some air. There's something in the middle of the road. He swerves, and her head hits this pole and just gets completely decapitated. And I'm telling you, they linger on Alex Wolff's character for a good amount of time, because he's just as shocked as you are. You're sitting there just in awe of just what happened. In a movie, I've never felt like that watching another movie where I was just like petrified. You felt his emotions. You felt the fear that he fears, the sadness. Like, what do you do when something like that happens? And the way he reacts, it might seem shocking and something like you wouldn't do. Like, he doesn't call the cops. He just goes home, parks the car in the driveway like normal, and lays in his bed and just waits there until his mother gets in the car the next morning and then just loses it, starts freaking out because her daughter's dead, and she just discovered her headless in her car. Could you imagine that? Must have been the most shocking image that she has ever seen in her scene. And then Toni Collette, this is when we really get to see her, the grief on her, the scene with her and Gabriel Byrne's character sitting on the floor of their bedroom, and she's just crying, screaming how she wants to die. Like, that is acting. Like, you believe her as a grieving mother, as somebody who has just lost her kid. And you know, Gabriel Byrne, he's another one in this movie. He plays this character of just like this quiet dad, this kind of a pushover dad who doesn't want to upset anybody. He's just trying to keep his family together. He's got this overly emotional wife who has her own family problems. There are problems with their kids. So he's just there to try and keep the family together. He doesn't really speak too much. Gabriel Byrne is one of the most underrated actors ever. If you guys have seen Miller's Crossing, you know what I'm talking about. He's great in that. He's great in The Usual Suspects. And he plays his part perfectly here. You feel horrible for this guy. Everything he's going through. He doesn't seem like he has a bad bone in his body. His life has just been flipped upside down. He's really there to now, after the loss of their daughter, take care of their mother, take care of his son, and that's all he's trying to do, but he doesn't know how to do it. You know, Toni Collette clearly is the backbone of this family. She's clearly the breadwinner. She has this dollhouse job, which again, with the cinematography of this movie, the way that they intertwine transitions from dollhouses into the real sets, because they wanted the set to look like a dollhouse, and they nailed that perfectly. Some of the best cinematography in film history is in this film. It's shot so beautifully. I love the way this movie is shot. I love the transitions, you know, the dissolved transitions, or even the the hard transitions where we go from just absolute agony where the sound has just built up to the loudest point and then we just cut to complete silence. Great sound design in this movie as well. I really truly think that this is one of the best movies to come out in the last 10 years. It is just absolutely gripping. It gets under your skin, and at its heart, it's just about dealing with grief and seeing grief on screen like this. You don't see grief on screen like this very much. When someone dies in a movie, you know, you see sadness, but you don't see the ugly sadness, the ugly crying, what that would do to a family, and that's all in here. And I remember, and I've talked to my wife about this, I think a lot of people would have preferred a more ambiguous ending instead of an ending that really tells us everything that was going on. It turns out that this family had been under a possession essentially from their grandmother. Their grandmother had been trying to find a male occupant for a demon, one of the 8 kings of hell essentially, and it had failed previously on her husband and on Toni Collette's brother and her son, and she knew, Toni Collette in the back of her mind kind of knew there was something. That's why she kept her away from their son, Alex Wolff, because she felt like she was going to do something to him. So she kept him away, and then she gave her Charlie, and they tried to put the demon in Charlie, and it failed, and that's why Charlie had to die. And we find this all out at the very end. It's all laid out for us, and I think that, you know, I'm 50-50 on if that was the right choice. I actually do appreciate it. I like that we get the answers to all the questions in this movie, and I don't think it's told that bad. I know that people get a little bit upset, like in the movie Psycho, where you get like a big exposition dump at the end of the movie to tell you everything that you saw, and I get that. But I still would have liked an ambiguous ending. I'm a big fan of ambiguous endings, but I don't find this ending to be that bad either. It does help to explain everything that happened in the movie, and it rewards repeat viewings where you're just trying to pay attention to every little scene, look for characters in the background you might not look for before, look for hints about what the story is about. So I do appreciate that, and I've gone back to this movie every single year, and I enjoy it every single time. You obviously don't get the same shock you felt that first time when Charlie dies, but it's still there. It still gets under your skin. You still feel the pain in this movie. You still feel the grief and the horror, and I do think it's one of the greatest horror films ever created, and up there with The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby, has some of those great horror films that really kind of can cross over into just great films, and I think that's exactly what Hereditary is. And now we're going to dive into the 4K Blu-ray review, but before we do that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, lists, podcasts, shorts, we try to do them all here on the channel, and nothing would help this channel out more than by just simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel.
Make it stop! Make it stop!
Well, here it is, the 2018 4K Blu-ray for Hereditary. This came out from Lionsgate, produced by A24. I was a little bit surprised, actually, that this came out at the time. It was a very popular film, but I didn't expect to get a 4K for this. It was in the early days of 4K. Now, I kind of wish we would have got the A24 treatment, like with movies like Midsommar or The Lighthouse, but I guess Midsommar was a little bit more popular from Ari Aster. I'm still on the fence about Beau is Afraid. Is that going to get a 4K release, or should I get the Blu-ray that just came out? There's rumors that a 4K for Beau is Afraid is going to be coming out in August or September, which is actually why I haven't seen the film yet, because I missed it in theaters, and I don't want to grab that Blu-ray or rent it. I want to see if it comes to 4K, but if it doesn't, I'm going to grab that Blu-ray, because I am a big fan of Ari Aster, at least for his first 2 films. I think they're both great. I still think that this is the better of the 2. That's not to sell Midsommar short. That really is a great film, and Florence Pugh gives a great performance in it. So anyway, when this first came out, because I loved the movie the first time I saw it, this was a day 1 4K buy for me, and I got it with the slipcover, which I did really appreciate it. You take that off, and underneath you get the same artwork, nothing different there. You pop it open, and you get a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc, 4K in black, Blu-ray in blue, kind of like what Paramount does, so nothing special there as far as the disc design goes. On your 4K and on your Blu-ray, you're going to get the same exact special features. There's like a nice 20-minute making of documentary kind of looking at Hereditary, some deleted scenes, some photo galleries and trailers, so it's pretty bare bones as far as the extras go, but it's not completely empty. That 20-minute documentary might not be long, but I did really appreciate it. You get to really dive into Ari Aster's mind, what Toni Collette thought of the film, Millie Shapiro, Alex Wolff, really everybody. So I thought that was pretty cool. I was appreciative of it. I would like a little bit more of a fleshed out documentary, maybe like an hour and a half one, but maybe down the line, this will get released like maybe in the Criterion Collection, or maybe A24 themselves will put out a definitive edition with like the big book like they did with Midsommar. I can only hope, because I'll buy that day 1, because I just absolutely love this film. And as far as the audio goes, you get a DTS HD 5.1 3.1 on here. You really have no choice as audio tracks go, or really much choices as far as subtitles go, so it's kind of bare bones in that sense as well. And the Blu-ray and 4K comparison, the Blu-ray, you're going to have nothing on it. It's just going to be a compressed version of this 4K, but the 4K is going to have Dolby Vision and HDR10. When I was comparing them, they were very comparable, both the Blu-ray and the 4K. The 4K you're going to get, because of the Dolby Vision and HDR10, it's going to be a lot brighter, and the colors are going to be more vivid and dynamic. They're going to stand out more. You're going to notice the materials a little bit more. You're going to notice the skin tones a little bit more. It's just a lot more contrast than on the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray, it might look a little bit muddy at times, but it really is a solid Blu-ray. They really are very comparable, unless you're really looking for the differences and you just bought that Blu-ray a few years ago and you've been wondering, should I upgrade to the 4K? It really is going to come down to you, how much of a fan of this film you are. Do you want to notice it in a little bit brighter with a little bit better colors? That's really going to come down to you, because it's not a bad Blu-ray, because it's shot on modern cameras with modern technology. It's not like a 1980s or 1970s film coming to 4K. It's a 2018 film. This is a 2018 4K, so it came out the year it was released. It's not an upgrade. So it's really going to come down to you, because I would say that if the Blu-ray is like an 8 out of 10 visually, I would say that the 4K is like a 9 out of 10 visually. There's still a little bit of room for improvement on this disc. It's not like a perfect 4K. There's some scenes when the black levels are a little bit brighter than I would have liked, and that's something that we can clean up now as technology has gotten a little bit better. Maybe in like a year or two we'll get a new edition of this 4K with some better special features and some better packaging, because Hereditary is one of those films that is such a great film. People really appreciate it. People love this film. People still to this day are still talking about Toni Collette's performance in this film, and I feel like a real collector's edition and some big collector's edition box would really do this film justice, because this 4K, the packaging feels very bare bones, especially with the discs and the extras. The 4K disc itself is very, very impressive. Same thing with the audio on here. The audio is incredible. Like I said, great audio design in the movie, and it's mixed perfectly on the 4K. It really builds up the tension. You get that bass going, and you feel it. You feel it in your chest building up to these moments of just loud audio that then just cut off in the complete silence. I love those moments. It really blew me away in the theaters, and the 4K does the same exact thing with the audio track. So I don't know if we even need to update the audio track or even really the visuals. The visuals have a little bit of room for improvement, but that's just me looking for that. I'm looking for the minor issues just to point out, where really it's a beautiful disc. So as far as the disc itself goes, it's great. I would just like a little bit more extras and some better packaging, and that's the best way to upgrade this. But if you still want to go out and grab this 4K, say you haven't over the last 5 years, I could definitely recommend it, especially since it's such a great film. And if you haven't seen it, even if you don't want to grab this 4K to check it out, definitely check this film out any which way you can. Yeah, it's going to be a tough watch for some people. I get that. Some of the imagery can be a little bit uncomfortable. It's definitely a scary film. It's going to get you in the feels. It's not often you get movies like this that depict emotion and grief that really feels genuine and authentic. You don't get that too much, and this film nailed that perfectly. This is why Ari Aster is becoming one of our greatest horror directors of all time. Obviously, his last film might have not been too much of a horror film, but I think that him and Robert Eggers are leading the way in horror. And then slightly behind the two of them is Mike Flanagan. Those are the big three names, I think, in horror right now. And Ari Aster knocked it out of the park, hit a grand slam with his first film. I would give this 4K, though, an alright 8 out of 10. It's not the greatest 4K I've ever seen, but it's also a really solid 4K, and the film itself makes it very easy to recommend. But anyway, guys, let's dive into our digital code giveaway. And if you're wondering what that is, we do this every single week. In Friday's video, this past Friday's video happened to be my Christopher Nolan ranking video. I asked you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. If you answered one of those in the comments section below, I put your name on a magic wheel. I spun that wheel 2 times, and the winners have their choice of the digital codes that you see on your screen before you today. And I asked you guys, what was your favorite Christopher Nolan movie, and what was your favorite director of all time, alive or dead? Only one person picked a dead director, by the way, and that director was John Ford. So for the most part, everyone was picking modern day directors, the directors who are still working, like Martin Scorsese or Steven Spielberg. We did have a pick for Ari Aster, which is pretty cool that that Ari Aster is already some people's favorite directors. He's definitely on my radar, and I'm sure with a few more films he'll be up there in my top 5 or top 10, because he has just made some incredible work, and he clearly has an eye for film, especially for horror film. And then a lot of people's favorite picks for Nolan were, you run the the gamut of the usuals, Inception, The Dark Knight, and then you get some people picking The Prestige, which I really did appreciate because I think The Prestige definitely deserves more love. It's a modern day classic, and it's the one in Nolan's filmography I feel like that gets buried the most, and it doesn't deserve that because it really is a great film. But anyway, guys, let's spin this magic wheel and see who our 2 winners are. First wheel spin coming up. John Doe Juggalo. Gonna remove your name. Spit again. And Brian. All right, John Doe Juggalo and Brian. Man, Thomas, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Anderson. You really just missed that barely. I thought you had that, but, you know, the wheel picks who the wheel wants, and Brian got himself another win. And John Doe Juggalo, that is your first win, and John Doe Juggalo is a buddy of mine. I'm really happy he got a win. I think that's his first win in the digital code giveaway, so congratulations, man. Brian's won a few times. But you guys know how this works by now. Reach out to us at our email address, letstalkentmt@gmail.com, or you could always hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just direct message me and let me know which of the digital codes you want. As long as the other winner didn't take that before you do, that digital code is all yours. And if you didn't win, make sure you come back to this Friday's video, which will be my review of Oppenheimer. And I will ask you guys 2 more digital code giveaway questions, and we'll do this all over again. And again, guys, thank you so much for being here with me on another episode of Let's Talk. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We got plenty of 4K reviews coming up this week with Breathless, To Live and Die in LA, and Hugo, and we'll have reviews for Barbie and Oppenheimer. So it's going to be a busy week here on the channel, and if you were subscribed, you are the lucky one. If you're not, you're going to be missing out. So make sure you slam that subscribe button, and then after you're done doing all of that, go out and tell all your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.